I'm sure if you watch Smash Ultimate content on YouTube, you've probably seen this genre of video where people take the Smash Ultimate roster and Thanos snap it in half. This is a pretty fun video concept, as it's cool to see what characters people consider to be the most important on the roster. If any of them cut Steve, I dislike the video. But as I've said, a lot of people have already done this. As you all know, here on the Odyssey Central channel, I can only do the most original ideas. I would never copy another— Hey, stop it, don't show that. But yeah, while I think cutting the roster in half is a fun video concept, I don't want to be bullied for being so astronomically late to the party. So instead, I wanted to take a look at another aspect of Smash, that being the stages. There are somehow even more of these than there are characters, with a total of 115 post-DLC. Now, even more than the playable roster, the stage roster changes quite a bit between games. It's honestly kind of a rarity to see more than a few stages from previous titles make it into a new one. In fact, not even Smash Ultimate has all of the series stages, as about 17 from previous games didn't make the cut. Woolly World fans have never recovered. So today, I'm going to be removing 58 stages from Smash Ultimate to see which 57 I want to see return the next game. I mean, hopefully the next title just has everything, but that's no fun. Let's kill some stages. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and let's jump right in. Now, before we get into the bulk of this video, I want to get some easy stuff out of the way first. For the sake of this, I will be assuming that the character roster will be the exact same in the next game, as much as I may want to cut Min Min. But because of that, if a character's franchise only has one stage, then it's pretty safe to stay. Of course, they could always get a replacement stage in the next game, but again, for the sake of this video, I'm going to be ignoring potential future stages. They could also have a character be in without a stage, but since literally only Rob is like that, it'd be a bit weird. So rapid firing through the one-stage franchises, we have Summit from Ice Climbers, Flat Zone X from Game & Watch, Shadow Moses Island from Metal Gear, Wily Castle from Mega Man, Wii Fit Studio from Wii Fit, Boxing Ring from Punch-Out, Pac-Land from Pac-Man, though for this one they should replace it with Pac-Maze, it's still so stupid it got cut. Duck Hunt from Duck Hunt, Suzaku Castle from Street Fighter, Umbra Clock Tower from Bayonetta, Moray Towers from Splatoon, Dracula's Castle from Castlevania, Mementos from Persona, Yggdrasil's Altar from Dragon Quest, Spiral Mountain from Banjo-Kazooie, King of Fighters Stadium from King of Fighters, Spring Stadium from ARMS, Minecraft World from Minecraft, Mishima Dojo from Tekken, and finally Hollow Bastion from Kingdom Hearts. That means we already have 20 of the 57 stages we are allowed to keep. This is going to be a tough video. On top of those 20 though, I also just want to give a bye to all of the Smash original stages, being Final Destination, Battlefield, Small Battlefield, and Big Battlefield. I can't imagine a Smash game without those first two, and the latter two are really good to have for 1v1s and 8-player Smash respectively. Plus it's nice to have more stages where any song in the game can be played. Do you know how hard it is to fight without listening to 25M? But now we're sitting at 24 of 57 stages, leaving us with just 33 slots remaining. So the way we're going to be doing the rest of this video is by going franchise by franchise and cutting about half of their selection. I may decide to cut more or less depending on the franchise. We'll tally up how many stages we have at the end of the video and make any more cuts that may be necessary from there to reach the 57 limit. So starting off with the franchise to have the most stages, we of course have Mario with the grand total of 18, meaning we could spare 9 of them. Now my goal for what stages we keep comes down to if the stage has a fun and unique layout, and if the game the stage is representing is important. Ideally, we'd also want the most games represented as possible, and Mario here has a few games that got multiple stages. The original Super Mario Bros. Got both Mushroom Kingdom and Mushroomy Kingdom, so we're going to cut Mushroomy Kingdom from the list. It's also just not a fun stage in general. The other game to get multiple stages was Mario 64 with Peach's Castle, Princess Peach's Castle, and Rainbow Cruise. Of these three, I think I'm going to just keep Princess Peach's Castle. It's the most iconic location in gaming history besides Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, so I think it has to stay. But now things start to get really difficult as all of the other games just have one stage to their name, so we're going to have to go based on how unique the stage itself is. Of this selection, one of the most unique is Super Mario Maker, as it creates a new stage every time you play, and seeing as Mario Maker is a very popular spin-off title, I'm gonna let it stay. This also has the major benefit of representing 4 different games in one: Super Mario Bros., Mario 3, Mario World, and New Super Mario Bros. U. That makes me pretty comfortable cutting Mushroom Kingdom U, and while we're at it, we can also cut Golden Plains as well, since it's also a fairly generic grass stage. On top of that, I'm going to cut Mushroom Kingdom 2 and 3D Land, since they too lean a bit too far into that generic Mario grass stage territory, even if they are a bit better. Speaking of the 3D games though, I'm going to keep the stages representing the rest of them, being Delfino Plaza, Mario Galaxy, and New Donk City Hall. The 3D Mario games are all very important, often being the faces of their respective consoles, and all 3 of these stages are very distinct from one another. That leaves us with 5 more stages based on Mario spin-offs, and we can keep 3 of them alive. Of this group, we have 2 Mario Kart stages, being Figure 8 Circuit for Mario Kart DS and Mario Circuit for Mario Kart 8. In my opinion, Mario Circuit is the clear choice. Not only is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe the best-selling Mario game ever, but it's just a much more interesting track than Figure 8 Circuit. Wow, this is so exciting. That leaves us with 3 more stages: Luigi's Mansion, Mario Bros, and Paper Mario. Right off the bat, I want to keep Luigi's Mansion as the ghost aesthetic is very unique and is probably the most iconic of these 2 spin-offs. But as for which to choose between these 2, I was honestly kind of struggling. I'm not a huge fan of either stage, but for the sake of this video, I think I'm going to keep Paper Mario. Unlike Mario Bros, the Paper Mario franchise is still going to this day, so it seems more important to keep. So that means we've got our 9 survivors selected from the Mario series, but keep in mind we may have to come back and cut some more later depending on our total stage count at the end. Luckily, most of the other franchises from here will go by much faster. Donkey Kong has got 4 stages, so we only need to keep 2. First off, I want to go ahead and kill 75M. This is one of the worst Smash stages ever made, and while yes, Donkey Kong is an important game, I'd rather the stages in Smash be fun. So that leaves us with Congo Jungle, Congo Falls, and Jungle Japes. First off, I want to go ahead and keep Jungle Japes as the rushing river gimmick is far more unique than anything the other 2 offer. That leaves us with the 2 Congos, and of them, I think I personally enjoy the layout of Congo Jungle more. Congo Falls can be a bit messy, especially with that rock that was just built for camping at the right, so for me, I'm definitely choosing Congo Jungle. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that was quite a bit quicker than the Mario series. The Zelda franchise is another big one with a total of 9. Now since this is an uneven number, we're going to cut 5 stages and leave ourselves with 4. That's just because I know we have to make up for the 24 stages we automatically let in from the start of the video. Luckily though, I think the 4 stage choices here were actually incredibly easy for me. In order to represent the Nintendo 64 era, I think we've got to keep Hyrule Castle from Ocarina of Time. It's my personal favorite of the Zelda stages to fight on, and Hyrule Castle is an incredibly prominent location throughout the series. That does mean we'll be cutting both Gerudo Valley and tragically Great Bay. I absolutely love Majora's Mask, so that cut is a bit painful for me, but at least the game will probably keep its 2 assist trophies. Or they can make Skull Kid playable, please. Then I also want to throw on the fan favorite Temple into the surviving stages as well. This is still Smash's best giant stage, and considering the fact that I'm going to be cutting a lot of them today, it's important that at least a few stay for the sake of 8-player Smash. Plus we also need a 2D Zelda stage because, spoilers, I'm cutting Spirit Train. But don't worry, Toon fans, we've of course got to keep Pirate Ship. Not only is this just a fan favorite stage in general, but it's good to keep a stage around for Toon Link, who seems to have solidified himself on the Smash roster at this point. That leaves us with just 1 more open slot, and yeah, of course it's got to be Great Plateau Tower. Breath of the Wild is the best-selling Zelda game by far, and Tears of the Kingdom is in 2nd place, so the stage representing this era of course has to stick around. That means we are losing both Bridge of Eldin and Skyloft. It is unfortunate to lose both Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword representation, but at the very least they both still have assist trophies like Majora's Mask. Plus Bridge of Eldin is just a really boring stage. Sorry to all straight line fans everywhere. But yeah, I think this 4 is a pretty solid selection. Back to a smaller franchise, we've got Metroid with just 4 stages to choose from. Despite me not being much of a Metroid fan though, I actually had quite a difficult time choosing only 2 because they got a pretty fun selection of stages. Of the 4, I decided to cut Brinstar Depths off the bat since it's definitely the messiest. The idea of a spinning stage is certainly cool, but it's also certainly janky, so might as well just remove it. Then I want to go ahead and keep Norfair because it's got a very unique gimmick. As the fight goes on, lava will appear that you have to hide from, which makes this stage such a fun time with a group of friends. Nostalgia is definitely clouding my judgment a little bit here, but I played this all the time in Smash 4, I just can't help myself. Plus it's also a stage big enough to work with 8-player Smash fairly well. So that leaves Brinstar and Frigate Orpheon, and I was really stumped on what to do here. Both have fairly fun gimmicks and I'd say are equal quality wise. So for the sake of this choice, I decided to go with the stage origin. Brinstar comes from Metroid and Frigate Orpheon comes from Metroid Prime. The Prime series is a big part of Metroid, and seeing as Norfair also came from the original game, I decided to let Frigate Orpheon survive this time. Definitely one of the hardest cuts we've had so far, but I think I'm okay with the 2 we've ended up with. Now Yoshi here also has 4 stages, but this time we're going to do something special. We're only keeping 1. Why? Because I hate this freak. No, not really. It's just because Yoshi as a franchise is so close to Mario and it only has 1 fighter on the roster. Since we know we have to make up for the 24 stages mentioned at the start, this seems like a good place to do it. Of the 4 stages, we can go ahead and cut 2 right off the bat. Yoshi's story layout-wise is way too similar to Battlefield. Sure, it's got those horrific slopes at the edge, but I think it's best to go for more original stages. I'm also going to cut Yoshi's Island Melee here, which is a really fun stage, but since a grassy Mario World setting is already represented in Super Mario Maker, we might as well cut this too. That leaves us with Super Happy Tree and Yoshi's Island Brawl, and of the 2, I definitely like Yoshi's Island more. For starters, I like the layout far better here. I mean, there's no cloud here that you can just camp on. Plus, Yoshi's Island is definitely the most iconic part of the Yoshi series, so if any bit was going to be represented, it makes sense for Yoshi's Island to be it. The Kirby franchise has got a pretty respectable stage count with a total of 6. Now choosing which 3 to keep here was genuinely pretty tricky. Right off the bat, I was pretty comfortable cutting the Great Cave Offensive. This is a great, pun intended, example of a giant stage done horribly wrong, so I doubt we'll have any complainers that it's going away. I also decided to cut Dreamland GB. This is a totally serviceable stage, far more fun than the other so retro stages like Mushroomy Kingdom, but it definitely feels like the least essential of the remaining Kirby selection. That leaves us with 4 more with only 1 needing to be cut. Looking at this decision, I think it's safe to say that that it's between either Dreamland or Green Greens, since they are both grassy stages with wispy woods. So that means Fountain of Dreams and Halberd get a pass, which is good because they're both very unique and fun stages. But which of the remaining wispy stages do I want to keep? Well, if we went purely based on which one I like more, then I'd say Dreamland is safe. However, there's a big thing to consider here. Like Yoshi's Story, Dreamland is extremely close to Battlefield. Sure, wispy can blow you around, but that is such a tiny change, especially considering it's off when hazards are turned off. So I think for that reason, despite it being a slightly worse stage, Green Greens gets to stay due to its more unique layout. I'm sure I might get some flack for that, but I think this is the best Kirby selection considering the game as a whole. Star Fox is going to be a super quick one. This only has 3 stages, which means we can only keep 1. Of course, the only logical choice to live on would be Corneria. It's easily the most iconic of the Star Fox stages, and considering the Great Fox is pretty important to the franchise, the stage it's a part of should definitely stay. Yeah, sure, it's also in Venom, but that stage is basically the equivalent of a front-facing Phineas frame, so I think Corneria is better. Lylat is also obviously getting the boot, and while some may be sad about that, oh well. If we can only keep 1, it has to be Corneria. Sorry, commenters. Pokemon is another one of our bigger franchises with a total of 7 stages, and since we got an odd number again, we're killing 4 and keeping 3. This was another very tricky one, but let's start with an easy choice first, as obviously we're only going to be able to keep 1 Pokemon Stadium. People love these stages, so 1 has to stay, but keeping both is definitely unnecessary. The deciding factor for which to keep is going to come down to the transformations. PS1 has Fire, Water, Grass, and Rock variants, whereas PS2 has Flying, Electric, Ice, and Ground variants. While the types in PS1 are certainly more iconic, I think I enjoy the transformations on PS2 gameplay-wise more. Since that's also the one competitive players play on, I think PS2 is going to survive. Optimally though, I think they should just combine these transformations together to make one Pokemon Stadium X like they did for Flat Zone. But now what to do for the other 5 stages? Well, right out of the gate, I decided to keep Unova Pokemon League. Of the remaining stages, Gen 5 is the only one not to have a Pokemon on the roster, so representing it through a stage seems fair. From there, I then decided to cut Spear Pillar. The layout is cool, don't get me wrong, but since Palkia, one of the stage's main gimmicks, is just a Pokeball Pokemon, we can safely cut it. That leaves us with Saffron City, Prism Tower, and Kalos Pokemon League. This was a really tough choice, but I decided to go with Kalos. Not only is it a great competitive stage when hazardless, but it's also got 4 different transformations with Water, Fire, Steel, and Dragon. Plus they can even change based on if a legendary spawns into the fight. The other 2 remaining stages are fairly basic in comparison, so I think they're getting the boot. It was definitely tough, but I think I'm happy with this Pokemon collection. Mother actually has a surprisingly high amount of stages for how small the franchise is, with a total of 4. Right out of the gate, I want to keep on it. It's actually from Earthbound, which is Ness's entry from the series, and it's a fan favorite. It's always really fun trying to dodge the cars here. That means I will be cutting the other Earthbound stage being Foreside, even if it is a really cool one. Now that leaves us with a really difficult decision. We have New Pork City from Mother 3 and Magicant from Mother 1. Now New Pork City has the advantage of Lucas, the Mother 3 protagonist, being on the roster. On the other hand, Magicant has the advantage of being an actually good stage. So I was stumped for a bit there, but in the end, I decided to let Magicant survive. That way all 3 Mother games are represented in some way, and it makes sense that Earthbound is the most represented of the 3. Alright, time for our final Smash 64 franchise with F-Zero. This only has 3 stages, so we're keeping just the 1. Unlike Star Fox though, this is a bit of a trickier choice. I decided to cut Mute City SNES right away. Of the 3, this is honestly my favorite stage, but if we only have 1 to represent the franchise, I don't think the retro aesthetic makes sense. That leaves Big Blue and Port Town Aerodie. I would say both of these are fairly similar quality-wise, as they follow a race on their respective F-Zero tracks. But if I were to choose just 1 to keep, I'm gonna go with Big Blue. Port Town Aerodive is a traveling stage, and we already have a few of those, whereas Big Blue's gimmick of being able to go on the road isn't represented anywhere else. I mean, technically Spirit Train has it, but we saw what happened to that stage. So I think Big Blue is the best choice for now. Now we've got our one and only Melee franchise to get multiple stages in Ultimate, Fire Emblem. Now despite its high character count, the stage count is comparatively low with only 4, but that still gave me quite the challenges for what to keep. Luckily Colosseum was a pretty easy cut. It doesn't directly come from any Fire Emblem game and is just super forgettable. So of Castle Siege, Arena Ferox, and Garreg-Mach Monastery, which one am I going to eliminate? Well, to start, I'll say Garreg-Mach Monastery can stay as it comes from the best-selling Fire Emblem game Three Houses, and it's the most complex of the remaining choices. So of the last 2, which should I keep? Well, Arena Ferox has the advantage of actually coming from a game, being Fire Emblem Awakening, but Castle Siege sort of represents a lot of early Fire Emblem. Plus, I personally just like fighting on Castle Siege a bit more. I could definitely understand either choice, but I think Castle Siege is going to be my pick. I'm sorry to Fire Emblem Awakening fans, but something tells me you have plenty of representation already.
You took my only food! Now I'm gonna starve!
So I think these 2 are going to be my choices for the surviving Fire Emblem stages. From here on out, all of the remaining franchises have 3 or less stages, meaning we can only keep 1 from each. Kid Icarus is already showing us why that is going to be so hard because its selection is fairly solid. I knew right away Reset Bomb Force was getting the boot since the other 2 just fit the franchise's vibe a bit better, but the final decision was pretty difficult. I know some of you are definitely going to kill me for this, but I think I'm keeping Palutena's Temple. Yes, it's not a great stage to play on, but of the giant stages, it's far from the worst. Really though, the main reason I want it comes down to Palutena's guidance. In case you didn't know, if you press down taunt on this stage's pit for 1 frame, he'll have a conversation with Palutena and Viridi about the character he's fighting against. This is by far my favorite Easter egg in the Smash series, and I really want them to continue this for every game in the future. I know the Skyworld fans will kill me for it, but I think Palutena's Temple has gotta stay. The Wario franchise was a heartbreaking one for me. During Smash 4, one of me and my brother's favorite stages was Gamer. It was not only super fun to avoid the mom's gaze, but we're gamers. We have to love it. But looking at its competition with WarioWare Inc., it feels like the latter has to stay. It represents the franchise as a whole a lot better with the microgame mechanic, and is also just a good stage by itself. So while I personally love Gamer, I think Wario Inc. is sadly a more reasonable choice. In comparison, Sonic was super easy. Its 2 stages are Green Hill Zone and Windy Hill Zone. I wonder, do we keep the most iconic Sonic level ever that appears in almost every game, or this one-off from a Sonic game most people don't even like?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah, obviously Green Hill Zone gets to stay. I don't want to see anyone disagreeing. Alright, Pikmin time with a battle between Distant Planet and Garden of Hope. Now this one could go either way, honestly. I think this is more of a personal preference. Of the 2 though, I think I'm a bigger fan of Garden of Hope. It not having a walk-off is nice, and I just think the mechanics here are a lot more fun with the elevators and the big crab guy that probably has a name which Pikmin fans will kill me for not knowing. As that obviously implies, I don't really play the franchise though, so maybe Distant Planet is a much better choice. I mean, it does have a bowl board. But I think I'm going to stick with Garden of Hope for now. Now, Animal Crossing was a tough one. It's got 3 stages, and each one has a good reason to stay. Smashville and Town and City are both competitive stages, whereas Tortimer's Island is a better job representing its source material with New Leaf. To whittle down this decision, I decided to go ahead and cut Smashville. Both Hollow Bastion and Yoshi's Island Brawl have the single platform in the center idea, so I think the other 2 Animal Crossing stages are a bit more original. But of these last 2, I was really struggling. It seems to just come down to a decision between competitive play and series accuracy. That was until I considered what part of the game each was representing. Tortimer's Island is obviously the island from New Leaf, but Town and City shows off the actual town aspect of the Animal Crossing series in the background. Since the island was just an extra location in New Leaf, I think I'm going to let Town and City be the Animal Crossing representation. It's got a better layout on top of that too, so I think it's probably the best choice. Okay, Xenoblade I've never played, so we're just going to do this quick. It's got 2 stages, and I think Garplane should stay over Cloud Sea of All Rest. I probably like the latter as a stage better, but it's more logical for the first game to get the stage. I'm sure some Xenoblade 2 fans will write essays in the comments about how I'm wrong, but oh well, Garplane is my choice. And our final main franchise is Final Fantasy. Pretty fitting. Which gave me a fairly difficult choice here. Its 2 stages, Midgar and Northern Cave, are both very basic layout-wise. I mean, they're pretty much just Battlefield and Kalos with a few minor tweaks. This was tricky, but I think I'm going to go with Midgar. From what I know of the game, it seems like Midgar is the starting point, so it's probably the best choice from that angle. Additionally, Midgar gets some pretty wild hazards when you turn them on. Northern Cave in comparison literally doesn't change at all, so even if Midgar is super generic with hazards off, I think it's the best choice. Now we aren't quite done as we still have 9 stages that come from franchises not on the roster. Unfortunately, that does make cutting these hard seeing as they don't have fighters, but I still decided to only keep 4. To rapid fire through some of this cut list, Wrecking Crew is Mario adjacent so it doesn't need to be here, Nintendogs has an assist trophy so Living Room isn't needed, and Balloon Fight is represented with Villagers Up special so it can be cut as well. Then I'm also gonna cut Hand and Bow. I'll deeply miss the green screen, but this stage is just bad to play on, and its franchise is easily the least iconic here. That means we've only got 1 more to cut, and I've decided to make it one of the Mii stages. That means Picto Chat 2 and Pilot Wings both get by here. That leaves us with Find Me, Tomodachi Life, and Woohoo Island, and one of these need to go. Of these 3, I think Find Me is going to be the one I cut. I probably like playing on it more than Tomodachi Life, but as a game, Tomodachi Life is far more iconic. Plus Woohoo Island being from Wii Sports Resort just has to stay, that's out of the question. So for the other category, this is my selection of stages. So now that we've gone through everything, what's our total looking like? Counting up all the stages we've allowed to survive up until now, we get a total of 65. Unfortunately, that's higher than 57, so we still need to figure out 8 stages from our survivors to kill once more so we can reach that halfway point. Obviously, we can't choose from the franchises that only have 1 stage now, so how many potential candidates do we have to choose from? Well, after removing them from the list, we are left with 35 stages on the potential chopping block. So with 10 franchises to choose from, what are we going to cut? Well, I started by making the painful decision to kill Small Battlefield. While I love the stage, it is really similar to Pokemon Stadium. Hopefully the next game will let us play any song on any stage. Then I looked at the Mario franchise and decided to kill off Paper Mario. I know a lot of people will hate that, but of the remaining Mario stages, it's the least valuable. But now the cuts are getting really hard and we've still got 6 more to make. I decided to look over at Pokemon next and make the hard decision to remove Unova. Even if this removes Gen 5 representation, it's got the least original layout here as it's very similar to Pokemon Stadium 2. I'm sure some would kill Kalos instead, but the transformations for me are a far more interesting gimmick. Then I decided to go to Mother and cut Magikarp. Yeah, we do lose Mother 1 representation now, but Onett is too iconic. Plus Mother is a super small franchise, so it only having 1 stage in this hypothetical scenario seems fair. Then I decided to look over to the other section and kill 2 more stages, cutting it in half again. While we do technically lose more representation here, the other categories should really just be bonus stuff on top of the fighter franchises. So with that being said, I decided to kill Tomodachi Life and Pilot Wings. The Mii's already have their stage with Woohoo Island, and to be honest, Tomodachi Life just isn't a very fun stage. With that being said, Nintendo, please don't make Tomodachi Life 2. As for Pilot Wings, this stage has us flying over Woohoo Island at parts, so it's a bit repetitive to have 2 stages based on it. That just leaves us with the 2 final cuts to make, and these were certainly the hardest. I was really struggling with this, but I made the painful decision to remove Fountain of Dreams. I absolutely love this stage, but layout-wise, it is similar to Battlefield with hazards off. Yeah, that one hurt, but the final cut may have been the most difficult because I genuinely had no idea where to even look. All of the stages at this point feel important and distinct enough to keep, but eventually my eyes landed on the DK franchise. The 2 stages here were both from the same game, Donkey Kong Country, and look somewhat similar. So for the final cut of the video, I'm going to be removing Congo Jungle. And with that, we finally have our 57 stage roster for the next Smash game. Hopefully this list won't get me killed in the comments. Oh, who am I kidding? The Balloon Fight fans are probably at my door already. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you think I should have talked about custom stages and hate me for not bringing them up? Let me know in the comments. I know this is a very different video, but I hope you all still had fun with it. Also, if you all didn't know, I finished my 200k special ranking every 2D Mario level, so check that out if you're interested. Before we end, I also gotta make sure to thank my members, being Jorge Hernandez, Belandor, Puggles Are Fun, Trader Mo, Diluted Colors, Void 11, Cinder CC, MRM, Hanson462, Jade Avery, Prunzel Clone, Thicky Reiki, SJ100, Ungenio TM, Hassan Terstegen, Gnarled, Galactic Patroller, CW McCain, Tibby, Hyper Saint, Noah P. Rivali the Rabbit, D-Scrib, JubeTube VA, Fast Twist, Z, Tesseract, Maker, Nuclear, Mr. McMahon 5702, Yanni the Duck, I'm Not Denny BG, Seb, Andres Valerio, Gavin, Hippopotamus, Thick Rib, Name SG, Starfish, Ratsy, Jameson Pageson, Wilbur, Golden Sand 15, Frost, Stuffy Ant, Just Dex, Hezekiah, Conconut, Keep, Mogo Mogo Boat, and Christian Flattery Sequel Edition. But anyways, dry bones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.